Welcome to our greatest American art form.
The mixtape.
Now, for all of you kids who don't know,
Traditionally, a mixtape is a homemade compilation of media from multiple sources, recorded into a medium like a CD, a VHS, or cassette tape.
what we are presenting to you here is something we call Mixtape Therapy,
A collection of authentic conversations,
often wacky conversations,
inspired by what inspires us.
except instead of a cassette tape, we are bringing you a podcast
So just as you might share a mixtape, we share these conversations with you.
in the hopes that they spark a similar connection to the good old mixtape. Now,
Join us for a little
for some
mixtape.
Mixtape Therapy.
Cool.
Or you have it. I didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything either.
I did zero things.
I just showed up today.
That's what we do, Scotty.
I-
Well, no, there's sometimes when maybe we prepare more, but I think most days we just show up.
Well, I really well, we talked about this before, that I really think that the best way you can show up for your clients is to just show up as open and in the best place that you possibly can. That everything you know and everything you've done is already that's already in the barn, right? Like, you've already studied all the books, you've already done all the things. That you have to show up and try to be open and available for the help that that person needs. You know what I mean? Because I can study all the things I want to, and then you get into the middle of a session and it's totally different, you know?
Correct. Jesus, take the wheel. I mean, there's a lot of trust that comes up with showing up, right? Whether it's for a client or whether it's for these conversations, I think you really just have to trust that whatever needs to be expressed is going to get expressed.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about my own personal podcast and like what that means and stuff like that. And one of the things I think, for at least for me, it's brought in a great awareness to who I am as a person, and even confirming things that maybe I was denying or not paying attention to or whatever else. So I think, the showing up like this, it really is like a therapy. It is really like, going to your therapist when you don't want to, going to your personal trainer when you don't want to. The consistency of it makes a huge difference, even though maybe doing it all the time doesn't feel super great, you know?
Yeah. And some of our episodes are bad or, not good. And some of them were great. I don't know.
I don't think any of our episodes, I'm just gonna say, I don't think any of our episodes have been bad, right? I just
You're an
think,
optimist. You're great.
I just think that, some of them aren't my favorites.
Yeah.
I have ones that I like a lot more than others, probably how people feel about their kids when there's 8 of them, you know?
Dude, I don't know how people do that. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. Okay, so let's dive in. Welcome
Let's
to
talk about,
Mixtape.
let's, yeah,
Let's talk about it.
let's talk about Robot Dreams. Like, tell me what you thought.
Oh my gosh. Well, Robot Dreams is an animated movie. I think it's French, right? Which is interesting.
There was no words really,
There's
so
no
I don't.
words, but it's set in Manhattan, but I think the filmmakers are French. It doesn't matter. There's no words. There's no words.
I love stuff with no words, by the way, because it leaves the interpretation totally open to us. You know what I mean?
Did we do that other movie that has a cat with no words?
Flow.
Yeah, we did Flow. Okay, so love it. Love it. Which is really funny now that we're going to try to talk about a film with no words. But Scotty, I have to kick it off to you first because you're the one that chose it. I think that's how it goes. Isn't that usually how it goes?
I mean, I feel like usually I try to get what you have to say about it before I start, because I'm partial to it because I'm the one that suggested it. But I'll go
Okay,
first.
then
I don't mind.
no, I can go first. I can go first.
Okay.
I mean, man, this feels it's obvious, right? But it is a heartbreaking, beautiful, adorable depiction of loneliness. And the fundamental desire for connection. Like a desire so deep, a desire for connection so deep that we're kind of willing to do pretty much whatever we can in order to get that connection. Maybe I can't, I don't know if I can speak to that for everyone. But for me, even in my worst moments, I'm usually trying to find some kind of connection. Somehow, right? Whether it's to another person, whether it's to spirituality, whether it's to even just someone who's written a book that resonates with how I'm feeling. It's like this deep, deep, deep desire for connection. And while this has been said a bazillion ways to Sunday, loneliness is an epidemic right now, right? Like the loneliness epidemic. We've probably heard it so many times, it's like lost its meaning. But we have so many people who are either quite literally just like living alone in their little apartment units. But even if they're not physically alone, we live in a world in which so many of the things that connected us in person have been taken over by things in the virtual space. Ironically, even this conversation right now, even though this feels a lot better than scrolling on Instagram, right? Or
This is the
watching
best we can do,
video.
guys. Like she's in Vermont. Like, what do you want?
Right. And all my sessions are on Zoom. No, I mean, this is obviously hugely preferable to watching videos, doom scrolling, whatever, right? But we live in a world in which our brains have been hijacked to prefer screens and interacting on screens to interacting with people. There's 100 reasons for that are, neurochemical and dopaminergic and all those sorts of fancy words. But yeah, I do actually wonder though, Scottie, right? Is loneliness something that we're just only now starting to talk about because we know about it? Has it always existed? Of course, it's always existed. But we certainly know that modernity has cut us off from the necessity of interpersonal interactions. And how that can come with a lot of like, I don't know why my brain just immediately goes to like Uber Eats. Uber Eats is like, it's so convenient. It's so luxurious. Like what a luxury to have this like complete meal just like delivered to your house in an hour from a restaurant, right? It's all these things that masquerade as luxurious, but actually deprive us of human interaction, slowing down, being present. So much of what we perceive of as modern luxury and like time-saving devices are the very things that cut us off from real life, which becomes most heartbreaking when it is humanity that we're being cut off from. That's my word vomit of the moment. But then in spite of that, right, in spite of all those things and this like malaise that makes us disconnected from one another, there's still, at least in the characters in this film, right, there's like almost like a life or death hunger to capture that connection at whatever cost. And I'll stop there. We didn't say at all what the film is about.
Okay, so
Go, Scottie.
I'll give like I don't want to give too much away because I think it's like, because it has no words, seeing it is like experiencing it. So if like I'm describing it to you too much, then you don't get to like really think about what's going on, right? But ultimately, there's this dog and he is very lonely and he sees that he can buy a robot friend online or like on an infomercial, right? And so he does, and then silliness ensues, like, after it, right? The complications of life and everything. And I was watching, so while you were talking, I was thinking, I was watching this with my daughter, right? And I don't want to give too much away, but there's a point where they get separated, and he's trying to get to him, and he can't, and so he has to wait. And he kind of, I don't want to say gives up, but he's like, well, I don't have any choice. I have to wait. You know what I mean? And my daughter was just like, is he just gonna leave him there? Like, talking about the robot. And I was like, yeah. And I go, he just has to wait. He has to be patient and wait. And then in the movie, you're being patient and waiting, like, and you're seeing what's happening in the in between time, right? And so for me, and like having my daughter and thinking about the movie and sharing it with you, what I really took away was he starts the movie with getting this one friend, right? And he ends the movie with a different friend in that same role, right? And I don't want to define the role. We'll just say the role of a friend, because maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but we're just going to call it a friend for what we're saying, right? And it made me think about that loneliness, and you fulfill that loneliness. And then a lot of times it gets taken away, even not by your own doing. Like maybe you're dating someone and they break up with you, and you don't have a choice of how you experience that next part, right? But the dog in the movie keeps going, and then he kind of turns things around. Like he finds a new friend, and it starts going good again. He's like, yeah, got a new relationship. And then this is kind of a spoiler. So if you don't want to know, don't stop it right now and just maybe fast forward a minute. Him with his new robot friend that he finds sees his old robot friend with someone new, like in a relationship. And there's this moment of like where I feel like there's this like what you experience a lot of time, which is a fondness. Maybe it's an anger at a moment. It's like shifts. Like you're like, I don't like that person, but it was so great to see him, and all the mixed emotions and stuff like that. And then the movie just kind of moves forward, And as magnanimous as loneliness feels, with effort, right? He goes out and he gets this robot friend, and he makes it happen, right? And then it gets separated. And he does stay kind of he's in a funk for a while, and he starts to slowly work himself out of the funk, and then he gets, and that's kind of like the pattern of like anything that goes bad, and then anything that kind of, well, your life turns back around, but you can't stay stuck in the bad, right? So like he doesn't, when he gets separated from the robot in the beginning, he doesn't just like, for the first like, couple of days or weeks, I think he's like, checking off the days of like, hopefully I'll see him again. But then his life kind of moves forward and it evolves out of it. Not that he forgot, but then he was like, oh, I got to go check on my friend, again. But his life had moved forward just a little bit, you know what I mean? And I think that sometimes we get stuck in those low parts. It's hard to see ways to kind of go up. But, it's that taking one step at a time, as cliche as all this is, taking one step at a time, and just trusting the process that getting involved and investing into your own life it'll be good. It's gonna be good for you. You know what I mean? You don't like everything about it. You're like, I don't want to do any of that, but it's gonna be fine. I
Well,
and
and
I
I
would
think one
go
was
ahead.
also, oh yeah, no, he also like in this search for, and we don't know if the robot he ends up with is his forever robot, right?
Sure.
We don't know.
We don't know, but it didn't go that far.
But he has a lot of like he has these other moments where he is trying to make connection, and there's like the promise of connection and the hope for connection, and it doesn't work, right? And he doesn't make the friends that he wants to make, and there's like all these mini kind of failures throughout the course of it. Um, but the trying, the trying to form connection is the very thing that enables him to survive, right? It's actually like putting in any kind of modicum of effort to reconnect with the world around him, or to basically to like do anything, like throw anything out there, try anything.
Yeah.
in order to, whether it's find connection or just get through the day. It's like there are going to be multiple what feel like failures throughout our life. But you can also look at it totally differently. Like I think we think about this a lot with romantic relationships in particular, maybe even friendships, that because they didn't last, they were a failure, right? It's like it's this bad thing. And I fall into that trap all the time of thinking that like it's failure as opposed to, nope, that was a moment in time that was important. That person was really important to me. They're still important to me on many levels. I'll probably never forget them unless I develop Alzheimer's. I will never forget that person. And it's sad, but it's also like, it's that feeling of like, would you really take back or would you really erase these parts of your life in which you were doing the best you could at that time to make it and to be present in your life, which includes, of course, meeting and connecting with people that, well, at least I hate to say we're all going to die. I'm going back to we're all going to die, but we're going to lose everyone eventually, somewhere or the other. So, it's easy to maybe lose heart and just give up on trying in the first place.
Ask
But
me about my divorce.
Scottie, will you tell us about your divorce?
Sure, quickly, Hannah, quickly. I'm not going to go. Um, it's that. It's like, like outside of my immediate family, my parents and my brother, they're both married, right? My parents are still married and he's still married. And so nobody inside my little circle had experienced divorce. Now there's divorce all outside of in my family, but like, those people look like people that like fucked up. You know what I mean? Like that's why they got divorced, is because they didn't. So when I have to go through it, not only am I going through it like alone, I feel like the biggest failure on the planet. I feel like I failed another person. I feel like I lied to myself. I feel like I did. Do I know me? Like, do I know what I want? Like, like all these questions. And that was like really, really hard. But there's something about that I don't know why I chose to tackle it like why I did, and why I was like, okay, this is going to be my catalyst for change. And I didn't even know that at the time it's happening. I was just kind of having these ideas. And I know there's a whole, there's this way, and then there's the whole other direction I could have gone. And a lot of people go that way after a divorce or whatever. They never really recover after a major loss of a parent or whatever. And it just, on some level, it brought that failure. It brought a level of just reality of that I am human. You know what I mean? Like that. Like I'm just not like, as much as I want things. There's other stuff on the planet that doesn't want me. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like we'll say that I still wanted my ex-wife. Well, she doesn't want you. So like, what are you gonna do? And it weirdly made me take charge of my own life and go, I can do anything that I want as long as it doesn't hurt me or anybody else. And it'll be totally fine, even if you're not good at it, even if like, you've never done it before, because I'd never been married before. I've never been divorced before, and these were two huge things in my life that I had never done before. And I did them both like back to back, you know what I mean? And so it put this weird level of trust in myself, because I was like, man, if I don't really invest into myself, then this is always going to feel like that everything is pulling on me. And like the fact that we have no control, but I feel like I also have no control.
Yeah.
And so I need to start investing in ways that feel good to me, so that hopefully the outcomes are more like I want them to be. I just really feel like before my divorce, I wasn't really fully invested in me. I was more invested in other people and situations and time and other stuff. And ultimately, I'm the person that's to sit inside of all those things. So if I work on me first and make sure I'm solid, then when I go experience these things, it won't be bad. It won't be hard. And some of them will suck. My truck is wrecked right now because somebody ran into me. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm doing the stuff. I've been calling this insurance company every day for a month now.
No, it sounds so brutal.
Hey, but hey, every time I get on the phone, I'm super polite. I'm super nice. I'm like, hey, Eric, good to talk to your answer machine again. Just want to let you know that I'm still here and I'm still waiting on your phone call. And I'm nice every time because I understand that sometimes, like a lot of times, the world's just not going to hand you stuff. You're going to have to ask, you're going to have to go get, you're going to have to be involved. Like in the example of this dog, if he doesn't get on the infomercial and order a robot, no robot's just going to accidentally show up at his house. You know what I mean? You have to make steps and get involved. You have to do that. And so, I think that I just think the movie was so great because of the ebb and flow. Because also not, I don't think this is a giveaway, but when the dog meets the robot, you're like, oh, everything's going to go great, right?
Yeah.
Like everything is going to go great. And then things go real bad, like kind of quick. And you're just like, well, that's not cool. You know
I
what I mean?
think they're
Like,
going to have more interpersonal tension, which they had like a tiny bit of interpersonal tension. But what separates them isn't a fight.
no.
It's
It
something
was
beyond
it
their
was it
control.
was it was a circumstance of life. It was something totally
Out of
you know
their
s- out of something things they were doing for the first time too, right? And so I thought that the way the movie really kind of got sad and like I didn't expect it to, and I was like, well, how are they going to come out of this? Like, I mean, it's got to get happy, right? And it gets happy, but it doesn't get
ish.
happy like you want it to.
Yeah.
There's an outcome you want, and then there's a different outcome that's the outcome that most of us have in our life, right? And the one that we ultimately get, and you find yourself not being okay. You're like, oh no, but he deserves that. He deserves the really good outcome, the one he wanted all the way in the beginning. Why is he
Mhm.
getting this other outcome that he was happy with? It seemed like, And I just thought the humanity of the whole thing and how we've talked about this before on other podcasts, how like fairy tales are always great, like happy, like, like everything works out well. To have a movie that doesn't work out well, but it works out good was just kind of different and interesting and felt real. And, the conversations I had with my daughter about the movie were real conversations, like, because I had to explain all this stuff.
Which, by side note, the OG fairy tales were incredibly dark and almost always ended tragically, which is funny.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're talking Disney. We're talking
Yeah, we're
Disney.
talking Disney. Yeah.
Um, what's also interesting, the way the movie's set up, is a lot of the things occur. It's called robot dreams, I imagine, because so much of the movie occurs in the fantasy realm, like in the imagination of like what is going to happen, what could happen, what will happen, what they want to happen. And a lot of it is like not what happened. So they don't even end up right getting the closure that they wanted, or
No,
like
100.
there's not even the final recognition. There's just this like, whew, it's heavy, right? But it's just this kind of quiet realization of this thing is over and I'm in something else now. And
I haven't.
how do I, how do I graciously kind of continue to live the rest of my life?
I'm curious. Did you find yourself like being anxious, like kind of like anxious for the whole situation, or no?
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, me too. But I was just wondering if you did.
Yeah. Anxious, but also like, I think just really relating to it, right? I think
100.
relating to, man, because I think it's also fair to say that like loneliness and sadness is not something that just exists when you're single. I mean, your gal's a single Pringle and it's hard, but it's not something that only exists when you are single.
No,
Like,
you could be in a relationship with a totally wonderful person and still be lonely.
yeah, I
And
think
I guess I've never thought about this, but like, it's it's really my job to fill that loneliness hole with things that I feel like are good for me.
mm,
Right? So like if I'm having loneliness about someone that I used to know or love and they don't want me, that's like one thing. If I'm having loneliness that I don't feel connected to I'm with a wonderful partner, but we just don't have connection. That's a whole different thing. You know what I mean? Because hopefully I'm with someone that wants to be with me. We're just not connected.
Yeah, man. I mean, well, it was interesting. I think I had a hunch it was not going to end like super, super happily, just by
Sure,
nature of the
sure.
film.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
film, I mean, the film felt so, I mean, it's cute, right? Because it's animated. But like as soon as it starts, like the way that the loneliness is depicted with um the dog, flipping through the TV, like totally alone, looking at other people who do have a person, heating up a microwave meal. Like I've literally like been there, right? Like I've literally been in that life, having that experience of that um, feeling of just like total isolation and like the mundane thing over and over again. And so I'm grateful. I think I'm just always grateful when people depict a reality that when we're experiencing it feels so singular, maybe even embarrassing, like, oh my gosh, I'm alone, I'm such a loser, like there's something wrong with me. Whenever someone takes the time to depict it, right? It's it's this signal to whoever's watching it, like, hey, have you felt this way? So have I, obviously, if I was able to create this. I think that's key.
I was thinking, so we did that the one Flow,
Mhm.
the movie Flow with the cat. And there was a level of loneliness in that movie too, because it's a single character they're kind of focusing on throughout the movie. And then I started thinking about when Tom Hanks did Castaway, you know what I mean? And that, again, one character. So I guess my question for you is like, do you think that like we've all been lonely at some point, so it's a very relatable subject, but like are we kind of inferring our own loneliness into these characters? Like, or is that the connection in the show?
Hmm. Like the experience of loneliness is the connection that we're experiencing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That like because we recognize as but like I mean, I was thinking about Castaway. I mean, I really don't know if Tom Hanks was lonely. I mean, I guess he was. He made a volleyball friend, right? But like, I mean, I don't know. I guess that like I guess I just never watched another movie where I thought about the happiness hitting me or
Mm.
the sadness or but like or maybe sadness, but the loneliness like is just something that we all automatically relate to. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because like if what makes you happy to me can be 100 different things. A lot of times what makes us lonely is the exact same thing that makes someone else lonely.
Yeah, it's being alone, feeling like you don't have connection and you don't know what you're doing with your life. Like it is a very visceral feeling, right? That of course I am feeling a lot lately. Um, and we rip on the phrase misery loves company, right? Like, oh yeah, just like, but for me in this season, it has been like absolutely vital for me to be connected to other people who are experiencing loneliness. Like, and those are the people that I feel the closest to because I know they know what I'm dealing with. And it's like different flavors and different levels of intensity, and there's different circumstances. But the moments when I'm able to connect with people who also feel like really uncertain about life, right? Or not just because they're single, but because they're like, they're in transition or something really scary is happening and they feel isolated and they feel alone. Um, and I'm not talking about clients. A lot of my clients obviously feel that way, right? Because loneliness is such a problem. Um, but in the moments when you're able to connect about your loneliness, I'm like, that's to me, it's like almost the most profound connection because what you're saying is like, hey, we're getting together and we're admitting what feels like the most vulnerable thing. And it's something that we have in common. And it can or does for me feel like the purest connection.
Does the fact that I'm not experiencing loneliness at that moment make it hard to talk to me sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think,
Because look, I'm going to say this on camera, on record, okay? while you're single pringling over here. Like I've missed you, like you know what I mean, like because we haven't had the same conversations, and there's been times where I'm like, I bet you're pretty fucking annoying to her right now. Like I
You're
bet, no, no,
not.
no, no, in this, no, no, not in a sense of like, oh, like you're mad, like, but just you're in a different phase of your life, you're a different age, you're going through a different thing, and I'm over here doing this thing with like a kid and turning 50 and like all
Totally.
this, and I was like, be available, but don't be over functioning. Don't be like overdo. Don't be checking her all the time and bothering her all the time and stuff like that. Because if you're always bringing the sunshine, as much as like we should like sunshine. Sometimes you want to talk to someone that's just going through the same thing that you're going through. You know.
It is a sad truth, right? That, and I don't like that, right? That it's no, I do. I hate it. I
No,
hate it. It's harder for me to talk to my friends who are like
it's normal. That's
happy.
normal. That's normal. No, but but here's my thing. Because I care about you so much,
Yeah.
I've tried to recognize, infer, guess that that's what you would feel because, like, I know that's kind of what I would feel. I know other people feel that way. And so I try to have that mindfulness around it in our conversations, in our text messages, so that you can feel supported and not feel like fuck off. I don't want you to feel,
Yeah.
I don't want to bring up, I feel like I have an ability to not have those feelings come up as much if I'm mindful of who I am. Right now, I can't control whether you think that, like whether you're in a bad, if you're not having a good day and I'm being all happy, and you're like, what I mean? I can't control that. But if I'm aware of who I am and what you're going through, I can show up in a way that maybe you're just not as irritated with me. And I'm not saying that any of this is bad. I'm saying that this is things that I do, the things that Hannah does, that you listening probably do. You know what I mean? So, like, try to like think of that when when you talk to real happy people. Try not to be too mad at them. The same way.
No, for sure. And I think a lot of it is knowing where you're at, right? Like, um, fortunately, unfortunately, actually, we don't need to qualify it. I know that to Scottie's point, I need to be in a certain space in order to bring my best self to the table, right? And my best self today is maybe not my best self 6 months ago, which was doing like better or feeling a little bit better,
Different, just being different.
different, right? Um, but where was I going with that? I mean, it's to Scottie's point, right? It's like I think what sucks, but it's also just the way that it is. It's like, okay, I know that if I'm going to like interact with a person, I'm gonna, and someone I care about, especially if I really care about them, right? It's like I want to make sure that I've done everything in my admittedly limited power to come to that interaction with an open heart, as much energy as I can muster, all these types of things, which, this morning was like, I'm talking to Scottie, I gotta go for a power walk. Like, I gotta eat my berries and yogurt. Like, I gotta, like, have this, nice interaction with my mom. I need to do someone a favor. Like, I need to feel like I'm helping out in some way, because if I don't, right, if I don't have these little, like, box checks things that I do, yeah, I know I'm going to come into this interaction like a dead fish. And it's hard because in mental health, sometimes we call that masking, right? It's like I'm faking that I'm doing better than I am. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of life is that,
I don't think so. I think what
right?
you're doing is you're going to the gym when you don't want to. That's what you're doing. And if I was your workout partner, you're showing up for me as my workout partner as best you can that day. Maybe you went out boozing the night before, but you still
Right.
showed up. You know what I'm saying? And let me say, I'm I'm just so grateful to you for thinking of me so much that you would go on that power walk and eat your berries like just to like see me like and to do this Like that means so much. That means so much to me, right? Because you could totally not do that, and you did that for me for today. So like I'm so grateful you do it all the time, but I'm really grateful for today after you said that. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
Scotty, that is so sweet. It's a hard compliment to take because, I'm always like, Scotty, you're the one that helps me by forcing me to do it. You don't force me to do it. You don't force me to do it, right? But like by being a presence in my life and by us continuing to do this, yeah,
You're
you are my
stuck with me. You're stuck
you're
with
my
me.
gym buddy, man. You're my
Yeah.
freaking gym buddy. And like if like months have gone by and I'm like, fuck, I haven't like done a podcast with Scotty. It's like, yeah, I mean that's the thing that keeps me tethered. So I would just say thank you, Scotty. And
Well,
I hope to see you soon. I'll actually be in Austin soonish, and I don't know if we can grab a
let's
coffee or
do
something.
it. Let's do it. Let's do it. If you have something that's mixtape therapy for you, make sure you let us know. We'll see you next time, Hannah.
Bye. Happy Thanksgiving. You
Bye.
know it won't be Thanksgiving when we do this.
Bye.